Isabel Smith is the founder of Isabel Smith Nutrition, a nationally recognized integrative, and is a nationally recognized integrative registered dietitian, health and lifestyle expert, as well as a certified level 2 Reiki practitioner. In her private practice, Isabel works with clients in the areas of functional and integrative wellness. She customizes each plan to her clients' individual needs while specializing in areas including hormonal balance, weight loss, and intuitive eating, thyroid health, blood sugar control, oncology, digestive health, athletic performance, and allergies and immune health. She's basically an awesome resource in all of it. And in addition to private clients, Isabel works with corporations and executives in the areas of nutrition, health, time management, stress management, employee wellness, and more. Her corporate clients have included companies such as Madison Square Garden and Hearst as well. Isabel sits on the expert advisory board of Eat This, Not That, and Body 360. Her expert opinion is often featured in print and online and can be found in Elle, Mind, Body, Green, Reader's Digest, Women's Health / Men's Health, and other publications. She's an advisor, consultant, and brand ambassador for various food and health-minded brands, and she has worked with companies such as Anheuser-Busch, Kind, Beata Juice, Caesar Stone, and a variety of other wonderful companies that many of you probably know and consume on a regular basis. I know I do. It's a pleasure to have you, Isabel. Thank you so much for joining us today. Isabel also happens to be a fellow Tufts grad, so wonderful to be collaborating and having you present to our community here. So
yeah, thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Take it
so fun. I know you and I have been looking for fun things to do together, and this is just in an unfortunate time. I think sharing information and helping each other as much as possible is kind of where we all need to be. So it's a treat to be with all of you guys today. We're going to talk self-care 101, what healthful eating and living looks like during this crazy time. I know a lot of you guys are small business owners or entrepreneurs, and you guys are probably used to working 24/7 and having a lot going on. And I think this adds an extra element. So I think the self-care conversation is more important than ever. Lauren talked extensively about me. I have been doing what I have been doing. I have a private practice that is based in New York, but I work with clients all over the world individually, and then I work with corporations, and I do some other consulting as well, as Lauren mentioned. And, you know, I think the most important thing that I'm finding as we go into where we are right now and live in this experience is that I think we have to be flexible. And I think we also have to be mindful. Two things that can be really difficult to achieve with the excess stress that I think most of us are experiencing. I'm hearing in the nutrition and wellness world, I'm hearing a lot of different messages from a lot of different experts. And I'm hearing a lot of dietitians and wellness experts say, like, you know, don't torture yourself, eat what you want, blah, blah, blah. I do think that there is a really important element to that. I do think that eating well is going to be totally individual to where you are, what your situation is, what you can find, what you have the mental strength and energy for. I think finding ways to reduce stress is probably paramount to anything else at the moment, because as many of you guys probably know, stress can impact our food choices, our movement choices, our sleep or lack thereof, all those things. So when it comes to eating well, you know, there are of course reasons to do so. I think of my list here, I highlighted a few things. I wanted to highlight a few things that I find are key reasons for somebody to pay attention to what they're consuming during this moment. Of course, inflammation and immune health. I think immune health is really prevalent as sort of a thought process for all of us. A lot of my clients are asking me, like, what supplements, and we'll talk about this later, but what supplements and what food should I eat and how can I keep my immune system well? You know, the nature of this virus seems to be one that may or may not make a huge difference how much vitamin C you get before getting sick. There are some awesome findings that I'm really excited about. Some hospitals, some medical centers are using certain vitamin mineral compounds and combinations actually in the treatment of COVID, which is cool. My opinion about about, high dose supplements and things at the moment, which again, we'll talk about a little bit more later, is more about keeping your immune system otherwise well. I actually think that everybody working at home, the most important thing, the reason for making food choices that make you feel good, and, we're not eating a ton of sugar and et cetera, is actually about focus and attention. I think coming into our homes, working in our homes, we're much more distracted, and we have much more to kind of grapple with, especially if you've got kids or you've got pets. I've got dogs that are in the other room, so I'm hoping that they don't make a grand appearance, but if they do. But I think we have a lot more that we have to wrestle with when it comes to focusing. And that is one of the reasons that I think paying attention to what you're feeding your body is absolutely, connected well to. When people don't eat regularly, or eat a bunch of sugar, or eat a bunch of garbage, attention definitely wavers. So, yes, there are some specific nutrients that I want you guys to eat. Yes, mostly it's about consistency. And it's also about hydration. And there are some things on the next coming slides we'll talk about. But what I want you guys to understand is about the attention and energetic side of your life. That is kind of the most important thing, in my opinion. Yes, immune system matters, and yes, all of the rest of it matters, but your productivity and your energy and how you feel in these days can be directly tied to how well you feed your body. And that, I think, is probably the most important thing to consider at the moment. So when it comes to eating well at the moment, that's going to be completely subjective to what you can find in your individual locations. Here in New York, Lauren and I were talking about it. I have no trouble finding produce, fresh produce. Can't find any frozen produce. If I wanted to schedule a grocery delivery, good luck to me. So I'm at the supermarket once a week with a mask on and buying my produce and whatever I can find. Like I said, I've not been able to find frozen vegetables, so I don't have very many of those. I've got a lot of fresh produce in my refrigerator. Pantry foods, kind of having a hard time finding those. But basically, regardless of where you are and just in general, you guys are going to have to adapt to what you can find. So what I'm eating is probably different than what you guys are going to be eating, but no matter what you're eating, what that looks like, it's about, most importantly, consistency. So what that means, and I think I have it, well, we'll talk a little bit about that. What that means is setting yourself up with a schedule so that you are eating on regular intervals of time. From an energy perspective, you are going to feel a lot more normal and a lot less peaks and valleys if you guys are eating about every 3 to 4 hours at least, depending on if you're intermittent fasting or not. I know a lot of people like to intermittent fast on a schedule. So our bodies work in circadian rhythms, which means we are one giant rhythm. And when we don't, our life, like a lot of the rhythms in our lives, have been completely thrown out the window. So one of the things we can do to really help ourselves is eat on a regular schedule. Whatever that schedule is for you, keeping it consistent is very helpful. If you're finding that it's hard for you to find produce and other things at the grocery store, my suggestion is, and what I'm hearing, is that if you can't find fresh produce, buy frozen. If you can't buy frozen produce, buy fresh. I'm finding that there's usually one or the other available. You can also get a plethora of fiber and healthy nutrients through canned foods. We've got a bunch of soups here that we bought a couple weeks ago. Of course, beans are super nutritious. You can actually get a fair amount of protein in canned and boxed situations. So if you're having trouble finding fresh protein to cook, like ground turkey or meat or whatever kind of protein you usually eat, if you're having trouble, you can actually find a bunch of it in the canned version. I am finding that people are not purchasing herbs. So in my grocery stores, I have seen a lot of herbs available to be purchased. And why herbs are super awesome, this is a little bit lower on the totem pole, but still super important in my opinion. People working from home are breathing air that's less filtered and drinking water that's less filtered on the whole. Office buildings and commercial workspaces often have HEPA filters built into the filtration systems. So people are eating, drinking, consuming through a lot of different ways. More heavy metals and toxic stuff. It's just what happens. especially if you live in a city like New York. I have air filters running 24/7 because I actually end up working when I'm not in my office at home quite frequently. Herbs help to bind heavy metals and help us remove them from our bodies. They're also super packed with nutrients, really good for your immune system. People often forget to add them. My favorites are, everybody's got an opinion about this one, but cilantro, parsley, but any of them are great. Mint, you can find oregano, whatever you can find a way to incorporate it into your eating. It's really, really great for your system in a lot of different ways. People are also now cooking more at home, and I'm finding that I'm hearing that we're burning our food more frequently, perhaps because we're using the wrong oil when we cook. So typically when we're cooking more frequently at home, we want to be using a more refined oil, which sounds totally crazy, I know. But when you have, let's say, an olive oil that's extra virgin, it's not meant to be cooked with. You should be using that on top of your food, not as the cooking, unless you are cooking at a lower temperature. Don't pan fry using extra virgin olive oil. You will end up with a smoky mess. So I'm recommending to clients that they use like an avocado oil or a coconut oil or even safflower oil or a non-GMO or organic canola. People get crazy at me when I say that, but it's better than a vegetable oil. So kind of the same-ish, but a little bit different, especially if you're getting a non-GMO. And that would probably be my last choice. I would choose avocado oil if I could. But my suggestion there is to use a more refined or a oil with a higher smoke point, because it's better for us to not be eating oil that has been burnt in our food. Other things that people are forgetting at the grocery store that I'm finding are things like roots, like ginger and turmeric. So what on earth do you do with a ginger root? If you've never used one before, what you do is you just chop it up. You can remove the skin or you can leave the skin on. Put it in a juice or a smoothie or into some soup, a stir fry. You can make some ginger noodles with some vegetables in it. Use it in your cooking or put it chopped up into your water, hot water, cold water. Super good for your immune system, and turmeric is pretty much the same thing. I'm finding that people also have a sweet tooth more frequently at home, myself included, and teas can be super helpful for that. Drinking tea can often kind of like quiet your need for something else to eat. If you've already eaten and you're feeling like you just want to keep eating, they make chocolate teas, peppermint tea, like definitely visit the tea aisle or make a purchase online. They're all good. They all have lots of nutrients. Teas are actually great ways to get extra nutrients into your body, immune boosting nutrients. So my choice is, when you can, choose like a locally sourced or an organic, because unfortunately tea leaves often have a lot of pesticides on them. I don't really want you guys to worry about that right now. Like these kinds of things kind of go out the window. Sure, you can buy organic if you can. Don't stress yourself. Same thing with tea. Like if you can find organic, go for it. But herbs, roots, buy whatever produce you can find and focus on better oils for cooking, depending on what kind of cooking you're doing. The other thing you can do, and I do it a lot, is I actually put oil in a mister bottle, like the mister bottle that you can get on Amazon, and I'll use that or just like an avocado oil spray, because I find that it keeps things from burning, and it works really well with a nonstick situation. Just being conscious of time here. This is probably the most important slide. So things to be mindful of at home. 1, people are drinking tons of coffee, all right? Some of you may not be drinking, maybe not as much as you do at work, but I have a lot of clients who are drinking more because they're tired. The coffee's right on the stove top, it's in their kitchen. Maybe they've got extra. I'm finding that people are drinking more coffee and less water. So when we drink more caffeine, our kidneys produce more urine. We get a little more dehydrated. So what that's causing in a lot of my clients is terrible constipation. So all that to say, I want you guys to work on drinking a little more water and a little less coffee. Or you could do like a half calf coffee situation. So you could do half decaf, half regular caffeine, regular test, like regular caffeinated coffee, but just be mindful of the amount, that it hasn't crept up, because it sometimes can feel easy to do so. Grazing, I've got a lot of people who I work with who are just munching all day long. Here it comes back to that food schedule situation, conversation, organization, however you want to put it. You got to be organized with your food and make sure that you're actually eating meals. What I find when people start eating at home is that they eat snacks more than they eat meals. And what that can do is that generally can add to our dissatisfaction after a meal if we're eating just snack foods instead of sitting down with a meal. So what I would suggest doing is planning out what you're going to eat for your meals, particularly lunch. I find that dinner people generally do a pretty good job with, but lunch can often be kind of a miss or forgotten. So you want to make sure that your lunch is a balanced meal. It's not hard to make that happen. Just don't have snacks for lunch, okay? And what that will do is it'll help cut down on the grazing, because if you're satisfied, I find it easier for people to not graze or be a little more mindful of it. I think all of us are sitting at our computers eating lunch. Maybe we did this beforehand, but maybe we're doing it even more. Maybe we're sitting at our computers eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you can't tear away for a moment, my suggestion would be to like close the computer or like sit on the different side of the table if you're working at your dining room table and just look at something else while you're eating, because it actually will increase mealtime satisfaction, and that's really important right now. And then the last part of this, this important slide, is the alcohol conversation. So I've got clients who are drinking 7 nights a week. Yikes. It's so tempting, even for me. However, your immune system will take a hit, and so will your sleep if you're drinking every night of the week. So my suggestion would be to cut back to like 3 to 4 times a week and really consider when it's important, do it, and when it's not important, please try and skip it. Just being mindful of that. But overall, I want you guys to not torture yourselves about trying to be perfect. There is no perfect right now. And I think just like thinking about the many things that I've thrown at you guys, see what you can pick up. I'm giving you guys a lot of points, a lot of things that you guys can potentially do as a hope that something will feel easy and you can, grab onto 1 or 2 of these little bits and pieces and take with you. Try not to be perfect. There's no need for that. So I get a lot of questions about supplements, as I alluded to before. Supplements do not replace food. They never have, they never will. They can be additional. They can be helpful. I'm not any of your personal dietitian that I know of. I might have some clients on here, but I'm not sure. But if I don't know all of your individual, health stuff that's going on. But I do get a lot of questions about general supplements. I can give you guys some general advice. From an immune boosting perspective, because that's what people seem to be asking me about, I have a couple of favorites. Of course, vitamin D, of course, vitamin C, but good luck finding it because it's really hard to find at the moment. Quercetin is another one. It is typically used for allergies, but it's an antioxidant and does have some anti-cancer properties. And it is helpful for the immune system. They're actually finding it to be helpful with COVID. But again, good luck finding that one. Garlic and ginger, people aren't buying as much. Oregano, olive leaf extract. Those are kind of my favorite, and there's more, but those are kind of my favorite immune boosting recommendations. I would say you want to avoid things that have too much of a promise. This is going to help cure you from COVID. Signing up for newsletters that are like, take these supplements, you won't get COVID. Like unfortunately, that's not how this virus works. I would say really focusing on your sleep and good self-care would be on par with taking supplements. If you guys want to take a good plant-based multi or well-procured multi, there's no problem with that for most of you guys. I would say don't overdo it on the supplements if you feel like you're starting to take a lot of things because you've been reading a lot of things about what to take and, this will be helpful or that will be helpful. I would generally like to say that this virus doesn't seem to act in that way. More supplements does not mean more protection from the virus. It means maybe they're related or maybe they're not, but my suggestion would be to focus on the other parts of your life. However, those immune boosting recommendations that I gave you, those ones I do really like. They may not protect against COVID, but they may help boost your immune system in other ways. So happy to answer some questions about specific supplements when we have question and answer. Lastly and most important, just keeping an eye on the time here, sleep is your most important ally here. So if you need to skip a workout because you need to get some more sleep, please do it. I think stress management, which includes meditation, journaling, visualization, arts and crafts, hobbies, super, super important right now. I say to a lot of my clients, like, what's your hobby? And a lot of them are like, ooh, I don't have any hobbies. And my response is always, well, you're going to have to find one, because we all need hobbies right now, things that we do that are not work and that are not sitting in front of the television. What's happened right now is that there's really very little separation, if any, between home, working, and not working. So what I suggest to all of my clients is having some kind of buffer between your workday and then your evening. So any of these kinds of activities, you could even take a nap, I guess, between work and the evening can be helpful, kind of separating between what our two lives are. I think it's very important, especially if we're looking at why people's sleep is interrupted. We're not moving enough, and also we don't have any space between work and not work. So some of these things can be helpful. There's plenty of online workouts. I'm happy to share a couple that I like. There's Obey, there's 305 Fitness, which is dance. This morning I did something called LecFit. Bar Method Boston is doing online streaming classes. There's a yoga studio here in New York called Modo, M-O-D-O, that's doing online Instagram live classes all day long. So there's plenty of opportunities for movement. I'm not an at-home worker outer, but I have turned into one. And so there's plenty of ways to do that. I think the movement piece is really important, even if it's not your favorite way to do it, or it's not your ideal workout. The purpose is just to move. The movement is really important for our brain. It's also really important to just help us expend some of this energy that we have built up inside of us. So meditation, any way you can do that, follow your Apple Watch. Apps like Calm or Headspace work really well for either one of those are great. But I think how you're living your life is also really an important consideration. So I just threw a lot of info at you guys. Watching our time, feel free to ask questions. Lauren, do you have any questions?
Great. Thank you, Isabel.
So much info. Sorry if it was, I'm like.
No, a lot of great tips. And I think very actionable things that people can do today as they're considering the best way to move forward and set a new sort of process for themselves during this time. So what questions do we have from the group of attendees? You're welcome to ask the question through the chat, or you can unmute yourself at this time, and we will experiment with allowing for folks to just jump in.
Hi, this is Duncan. I have a question.
Hi, Duncan. Yes.
Hi. I keep my vegetables and fruit out on the table a lot with my Veggie-Dome. I invented that, and I have a lot of fresh food that way. It helps to hydrate me also, because fresh food and vegetables have like 90% water in them already. I had a question about the vitamin C though, because I just completely depend on fruits and even vegetables like bell peppers have a lot of vitamin C. That when you take a pill that has vitamin C in it, does it really go into your system? Is it used by your body as much as the natural fresh vegetables and fruit?
That is such a good question. And I'm thrilled that you're eating so many fruits and vegetables. No, fruits and vegetables will always be better for vitamin C. Okay. We get the full complex when we eat vitamin C from our food. There are some vitamin C. So when I make a vitamin C recommendation, I recommend vitamin C with bioflavonoids, because it captures some of the extra nutrients found in the more natural form of vitamin C. But if you're eating a ton of fruits and vegetables, you're on point there. In my opinion, you're getting really good quality, especially if the fruits and veggies are staying really fresh.
That's the Veggie-Dome. It stays out on my table all the time.
I'm writing down Veggie-Dome because I might need a Veggie-Dome.
Take a look at it.
I will.
It is kind of a new product, and it works really well.
So great.
But just, any questions you have, just email me if you like.
Love it.
Love it.
Thanks, Duncan.
Isabel, we did have a couple of questions come through on the supplements list. If you could go back to the supplements list and run through it really quickly. I think that some of the attendees were wondering what those are again. Particularly ones you had mentioned: ginger, olive leaf extract. Are those? Do you recommend liquid forms? Do you recommend capsule forms?
Great questions. Yeah, so I went through that quickly. So staples: vitamin D, vitamin C. I personally like vitamin A also, but that would be one that I'd recommend working with somebody and taking, because there can be, in some rare occasions, some instance that we'd want to watch your liver health of taking vitamin A. I haven't seen any issue with it, and I use it a lot with my clients, but some doctors respond that way. Other ones, vitamin C and vitamin D, you probably won't be able to find right now because people are hoarding them like they're hoarding toilet paper. So other ones, quercetin is a great one. It's also an antihistamine naturally. So most people do fairly well with 500 milligrams once a day or twice a day. Again, I'm not any of your personal dietitians, so I don't know what else you have going on, but this is just like generally what is recommended by me. So quercetin's awesome. Garlic and ginger, also awesome. The garlic and ginger, what you can do for both of them, if you don't buy them in a capsule form, and most of these things besides vitamin D, most of these you would take in a capsule, all of them actually. But with ginger, you can chop it up. You can put it in your blender. You can like do the whole root, ginger, same turmeric actually. You could do them together or separately. Blend it up in your blender and then run it through a cheesecloth. So you're getting like the super nutrient dense liquid out of the bottom of underneath your cheesecloth. And you can keep that in the fridge and actually do like ginger or turmeric shots out of that. And that actually works probably just as well as buying a supplement. The garlic is best done when raw. It's gross. And you might have terrible breath, but we're not going anywhere, so it's okay. But garlic raw is really good for your gut microbiome. Feeds the healthy gut bacteria. And also it's super immune boosting. When people don't want to do that, I recommend like a garlic capsule. Other things I did suggest were olive leaf extract. That's going to be through a capsule as well. And other things like oregano oil can be great. Berberine is also good for the immune system. But the thing about a lot of these immune boosting supplements is that actually when taken in longer durations can actually act as an antibacterial, antiviral. And that's good, which is why they work for immune boosting. But in the long run, you really want to be careful about how long you take these things for because they can actually kill some of the healthy bacteria. I will use long-term oregano or garlic or berberine or some of these others actually for treatment of something called small intestine bacterial overgrowth called SIBO on a longer term basis. So you just want to be careful about how long you're taking these things for. A week or two is fine, but don't take them ongoing forever.
Great. Well, that went by super fast. We're at 1:30. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much, Isabel, for the great tips and things to keep in mind as we're trying to manage our health from home. Great suggestions. And
thanks for having me.
You're welcome. This recording will be made available for any of you that are interested to review any of the supplements or advice Isabel gave over on our YouTube channel. And in addition, you can also link to it through branchfood.com/servingupsupport, where the remainder of our speakers are listed and the topics that they'll be covering are included as well. Thank you all for joining us. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Samantha Bartholomew from Fresh Communications talking about PR for your food business, as well as marketing during the time of COVID. So please tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. If you have any additional feedback, you can reach us at info@branchfood.com. And we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. So thank you very much. Isabel's information is on the screen at the moment. If you have any further questions, please do connect with her directly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.